as people are joining the chat. Hopefully, I can see the chat. Um, it's a bit of a um, different setup and different time of the day doing this. But we'll talk about a very, well, a very controversial topic, I guess. um, and we'll get to it. I will just have to see if I can see the chat. Anyone who wants to let me know if the chat is working can um, write so in the chat. Yes, I can see it now. Okay. Um, some explanation is due, I guess, for this different setup. But I'll give it a few seconds before I do that. Um, I first of all will say that I have been having a, a party, so to speak, with all the crazy stuff going on in the world economics right now. And I studied economics actually. That was what I never worked in economics or business administration, but I went to, well, that was my topic, so uh, studying. So now we're kind of seeing the economic theories being tested and how they play out in real life, and all of that. So it's at least it's interesting. Okay. Now, uh, concerning this new setup, I guess that you can now see that because of this, the image and the whole thing, this is me speaking to a smartphone. And I have a smartphone now, actually. It's not going to be permanent. And the reason I have a smartphone is that I need a smartphone to monitor some health data that will be sent through a watch to the smartphone. It's not my heart, it's not diabetes, it's a neurological thing connected to very much connected to stress. And I don't want to make that a big topic, so let's move on. But I will say that if it was not for that, I would never have gotten a smartphone. But I really didn't have much choice actually. So moving on. um, was it a couple of days ago? And I'll keep the boring stuff very brief. But the price on U.S. bonds reflected in a dramatic way a lack of trust in U.S. economy long term. That's serious. That is much more serious than the stock market going up and down. Now, also, the stock market has kind of two factors or two values. Not values. What's the word? The stock market has two things that you can measure it by. Okay, so we have obviously if it's going up or down, how much is going up, how much is going down. But you also have the risk attached to it, and that last part is quite essential because seems what seems to be happening now is that holding US stocks, like that's ownership in American companies, is seen as more and much more risky. There is much more risk involved with that than before Trump. And that will not change if the US stock market goes up tomorrow. That's it will eventually change if the numbers are good long term, but the damage has been done already. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, I'm not hating on Trump. This is really not about ideology. It's about economic theory, and I think that, as the saying goes, follow the money, and people will follow the money as well. You know, so what is happening now is basically things not going according to the Trump administration's plan. Now, I think the plan is quite obvious. You have Navarro, who is the chief economic ideologue among those people now, and you have people like Elon Musk protesting publicly against the whole tariff war, which is about much more than tariffs. So I think you need to be kind of a die-hard MAGA fan to still believe that Trump's plan is working, because it's clearly not. The long-term damage has been done already. Now, the markets, they don't care about political ideology. The markets don't care about um, LGBTQ parades and rainbow flags, crazy woke stuff or crazy MAGA stuff. They don't care about any of that. They want stability and they want economic growth. It is that boring, actually. Um, so that's not the situation in the USA now, and it's changed very quickly. What also happened very quickly was that um, new connections are being formed. If you have something in your body that kind of, if you get let's say if you get a very deep wound in your arm, like so you get a bump in your arm or something like that. I don't know if you've seen that. Someone got a really deep cut, and the cut kind of always makes a bump there. So, so what happens there is that nerves and blood, what's the word, blood veins, and everything builds new, stronger connections around the wounded area, and that's basically what's happening in the economy now, the world economy, where it looks like, for the time being, that China is the big winner, and it's not shouldn't surprise anyone, because the countries of the world can be fine without the USA, and without most countries. There is no one country that the world relies on completely, except maybe China. Do I like that? No, but that is the situation, it seems. Um, so this is just a very horrible thing happening right now, and the it looks like this is going to harm people in the USA first of all, and we don't really know the long-term implications of this. Now, I hope that none of what I've said now is too provoking. It's not my intention. If it was, I'm just trying to make sense of what's happening here. I believe that the Trump administration is has been ill-advised, and they are. I have now started to believe that they are ideologically driven rather than driven by common sense. Um, but here's the thing. um, Trump is probably has quite a lot of power in that group of people, quite a lot of power. But he is also um, old, and in well, he has almost 4 years left. So I mean, he's just he just started as a president now, and he will be, is it 81, 82? Um, so eventually, I mean, I don't want. I know there are people out there hating Trump, and I don't believe in hate. And I will say that I don't want anything horrible to happen to the American president. I disagree with him on many levels, but it's not like I want him to die, right? I want to make that very clear. But he is old, so there will be a time after Trump, and that will time will probably be the next presidential period. No, what's the word? Yeah, well, in almost 4 years. um, and I know there are talks about him being a dictator, wanting to stay in power, um, and we can speculate on that. But I think let's keep that out of this discussion here. There will be a time after Trump, okay? If not because of other things, then just because he can't live forever. And then what? And then I think we have two, at least two scenarios. One scenario is that you have probably uh, a Democratic Party in the U.S. that have kind of managed to pull themselves together and, uh, and, and and they win the election, and you have a Democratic president in the USA. In which case, I believe that they will do all they can to re-establish connections with the rest of the world. The isolationist policy under the current Trump administration is not working, and it's never going to work. We don't live in that kind of world anymore. So that's probably what they will be doing. But the other scenario is, of course, that um, somehow after Trump, the MAGA movement lives on. It becomes a part of the American, or I shouldn't say American, the USA spirit, or their way of thinking. It becomes part of the national identity. Now, do I think that's likely? No, but what if it happens? What if the MAGA, the Republican Party, becomes fully MAGA, and after Trump, it continues? Then what? What if the isolationist and big bully might is right policy continues after Trump? Then what? Um, I don't think that will happen, but if it happens, I think, well, we can only speculate, but it's one thing is certain, it will not be good for the people in the USA. Democracies have died before. Um, it can happen again. Some people are saying that's what we are witnessing in the USA now. Um, People will say, especially MAGA people, will say, "Oh, the USA is not a democracy; it's a constitutional republic." Um, and by saying that, you kind of reveal that you don't understand what democracy is. You're mixing two different things up. But I'm not going to try. to explain that. Well, again, I've done it before. It should be easy to understand. Now, the USA is a democracy. Um, so I don't know what will happen if it continues like this past Trump, past the Trump era. I don't know. Some people say J.D. Vance will be the next president. Well, it's I don't have a crystal ball. Um, it's interesting to look into that option. He is a person who has reinvented himself to fit into the MAGA cult. Um, Now he's trying to score points on hating on Europe and being the public gaslighter for the Trump administration. Um, he is hated with a passion here in Europe, and for good reason. I I find it hard to believe that he will be the next president in the USA. I find it hard to believe because the sensible people around Trump will not want that to happen. My guess. I could be wrong. Um, the this is also a game of where time is quite an important factor because if
Um, and the idea is that the USA is the greatest nation on the planet. The world needs the USA. The USA has been supporting Europe with money, which is a lie. And the idea is that it's basically a very ethnocentric way of thinking and way of looking at the world, which is connected probably to a lack of traveling, a lack of an anti-intellectualism, which, by the way, is interesting. It's been a problem in certain countries, among them the USA, for a long time. The hate for people who choose to go to what's it called in the USA, college and university. The hate for the how they the anti-intellectualism is very useful for any totalitarian regime, and it's something that you've seen in hold on, well, in communist regimes and fascist regimes. And was it, forgive me if I'm mistaken here, under Pol Pot, was it, where all the professors, all the intellectuals, the artists, the writers, and the teachers, even they were arrested, and many of them were killed because the regime they didn't want to have people who could think and challenge them, and even people with glasses were arrested, many of them killed, because it was seen as, yeah, not even kidding, people with glasses, because it was seen as they were seen as enemies of the great leader. Um, so it moves very quickly into the absurd. It really does, and that's something to watch for in the USA right now. Um, just also, before I get to the chat, I will say that the Europe, many countries in Europe. Europe is not a country, by the way. Europe is not the EU. Um, but the countries in many countries in Europe, they have their own problems. Russia, being part of Europe, of course, has its own problems. The UK has its own problems. Germany has its own problems, and so on and so on. So let's see here. um, um, Now, okay. Let's see. Saying, Bjorn, you equate communism with Trump. Well, you see, it's difficult to understand for some people. But there is, of course, now communism is an ideology. The ideology doesn't matter so much. It's the structure in your country, in your society, in your culture that matters. And a totalitarian regime is what I'm talking about here. Uh, and let's see here. Uh, we have some people who needs to go. Um, okay. uh, let's see. Um, some Dan predicting J.D. Vance to be nominee. Well, he will. I guess he will be a nominee, but not the nominee. He will be one of the people wanting to be president. Let's see if there is anything but hate here. Um, hold on. Yeah, the Trump merchandise is made in China. Yeah, yeah. Bitcoin mining, saying people say hollow words like communism. People need to learn how the world works. Yeah, well, yes, I agree. And another word that it has that is often thrown out there is Marxism, cultural Marxism. um, let's see here. Yeah, let's see. Okay, now we did get rid of one person here. Um, let's see. Um, Green-eyed lady is a Trump fan. You can you can be a Trump fan. That's fine. Um, and Carl says, I think the economic system would need to reset, getting a financial economy that better reflects the real economy. Well, yes, but if there is a reset in the economy, that would take, well, it would be very painful. Um, and I don't think that that's something that you would want to happen to yourself and your family. Uh, and Storm the Pitbull says we need a global jubilee and forgiveness of all debt. Yeah, that will certainly not happen. Now, I think that it is it's about time, and it's like what you could do, and I've actually considered doing this here on YouTube. You know, I get so much hate; it's off the scales now from the MAGA people. You know, and it's funny. I've never had any. Well, I've had some, but I have not had much hate from the woke people. but I've had so much hate from the MAGA people and the Christian nationalists. They are very hateful people very often. Not all of them, but many of them, and often. Um, but I've considered, just sitting back, not talking about this, not doing anything. I've even considered not uploading any videos on YouTube at all for a while. Just sit back and watch the whole thing crash and burn, talking about the economy in the USA, which will crash and burn. Um, and I'm not the only one saying that. And it's very fringe, theoretically fringe now to believe anything else. Um, Also because there is only there is a limited time, there is a limited number of times when you can pull back things like tariffs and say that, oh, we made them come and beg, which is not what happened at all. So what next time? Are they going to try to pull that off again? Eventually, even the MAGA, well, even the Trump fans, they will not buy that. It's not going to hold up. Um, so it's a matter of just, you could just sit back and wait. You could just sit back and wait, and that's why I think that there's no chance in hell that there will be another Trump term or another MAGA term. That's just not going to happen unless an external enemy is established. That's what regimes do when they know that they can't win, they can't keep the support of the people. Okay, so you create an enemy outside of the country, which you do by starting a war, for instance. It's also a great way to uproot everything and restart the economy and so on. I hope that does not happen. Um, Trump has traditionally not been a president who wants to start unlike, for instance, Obama, who was a war president and who has gotten a lot more credit than he deserves. I don't like Obama, but anyway. Um, so that could happen, but if they just keep doing what they're doing, it's not going to. I mean, they're going to lose support. It already has happened. Um, no, we're not. Norway is not in the EU. Okay. So let's hope that they don't see the need to establish an external enemy. Of course, this could be said, it could be said that they have done that already by manufacturing this absurd idea that Europe is the enemy. And this idea that the USA is, or even American taxpayers are paying for welfare in the European countries. I see people writing that in the comments. I'm not even kidding. People out there truly believe that Americans, people in the USA, are paying for welfare in European countries. Um, so it's. I mean, yeah, I don't know what to say to that. Okay, I'll scroll up a little bit. Uh, Yeah, of course I'll consider leaving Norway. I mean, Norway is beautiful. I like it here, but the taxes are not. It's not sustainable. It's just not sustainable to stay here with this level of taxation. But they have exit tax, so I can't leave. That's the problem. Um, okay, let's see here. Uh, I'm sitting in the car actually, and I don't know what happens if I start the car. Then I'll be connected to the speaker on in the car, so I can't do that. um, so yes, uh, I should probably have prepared that a little bit better, I guess. Um, well, I'm looking at my boat now actually. So yeah, yeah, it's going great. Um, I can't. I'm the audio will be what it is, as this in the car. Again, why am I speaking to a smartphone, which I am doing now? It's because, and I don't want to. I mentioned this at the start of this live stream. I now have a smartphone. It was not my choice. I don't want to have a smartphone, but it's to monitor some health data. It's not my heart. It's not diabetes. It's a neurological issue connected to stress. And I have a smart watch that sends data to an app on the phone. So it's not really my choice, but that's how it is. Now that I do have it, I'm going to use it for doing stuff like this some, from time to time. That's all I will say about that. um, so, uh, one of us. Yeah. Well, um, yeah. So, I mean, my ideas here could be wrong. I hope. I will always say this. kind of hope I am wrong. Because I don't want bad things to happen to people in the USA. Um, but also, I really, really hope that people in the USA who believe that, like, oh, the USA don't need any other nation. The USA is the greatest nation, America first, and all of that. That's not the world we're living in anymore. It just isn't, and it's only going to be painful if that's what that if that ideology that is what drives the decisions or is behind the decisions being made in the USA now. Um, and the speed that connections are being made to bypass the USA in international trade, those coalitions, it's happening so fast, so fast. Um, and it's like, I mean, tariffs towards Norway doesn't matter at all because Norway has very little trade with the USA. Um, but what matters is the uncertainty in the market, which makes that people invest less, which is not good for the whole world economy, you know. Um, but okay, I will, because of the battery here, I will end this live stream now. And I hope that you enjoyed this new setup. Um, and we'll talk soon. Now let's see if I can manage to end this. To end this, um, that I should have looked into to start with. I think maybe I can just do this. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you for